born to those who pledged their lives in sacred honor, was smiled upon by God and freed from chains and iron collar. He is held aloft on unity and by history revered. For preserving peace through strength, his wings now reach across 200 years. But for each of those in 1 year more, God has smiled upon the core, from the Barbary coast to the eastern sand, by sword, by gun, or by bare hand. So it's been and shall be weighed. Though many are born, few are made. Faithful always they shall remain, dogs to loose when war is waged. With a need to bleed you when the light goes green. Best believe I'm in the zone to be. From my yin to my yang to my yang to see. Put a grin on my chin, come to me cause I'll win. I'm one of a kind and I'll bring death to the place you're about to be. Another river of blood running under my feet. Forged in a fire that long ago. Stand next to me, you'll never stand alone. Last to leave, but the first to go. Hardcore is the only way I know. I'll feed on the fear of the devil inside of the enemy faces in my sight. Aim with a hand, shoot with a mind, kill with a heart like Arctic ice. I am a devil dog, I'm marching on. I am a devil dog, I'm marching on. I am a warrior, and this is my
Good night, Chesty, wherever you are.
And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for tuning in to Cold War Radio live from studio number 1 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm your host, Hutch Bailey Jr., deep down in the broadcast bunker. The Cold War Radio patron hotline, 412-206-6208. The voicemail line, 412-567-1460. Still waiting to see that take off a little bit. You can help us by going to steelcityresistance.com and becoming a Cold War Radio patron, or you can catch the research room there with just a ton of information at your beck and call. The video page, which highlights the videos of the audio clips that we ripped them from for the radio show. If you'd like to write to the program, well, first let me mention the Facebook page. Facebook.com/Cold War Radio 22 is taken off. I mean, it's I'm going to talk to Ward about that in just a minute. But make sure you go like that page and interact with so many thousands that are doing that. If you'd like to write to the program, please write to Cold War Radio, P.O. Box 10433 370, Castle Shannon Boulevard, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 15234. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Cold War Radio, episode number 830. Let's swing it over to Ward Miller from the East End. Hello, Ward.
Hey, Hutch, how you doing this day?
Doing pretty good. How about that Facebook page? Why don't you? I mean, you have to get your Baconator out of the way, but after that,
of course, I gotta say, give a shout out to my bacon-loving deplorables. Can't leave them guys out. No, the Facebook page has been going crazy. It's funny because we talk about it, every now and then on the show, and it's like every time we see it, the numbers are just going up and up and up. And I think a lot of it comes from, we only have like 700 people that like the page, but the people that do like the page will share some of the stuff that we post, and it gets shared again and again and again. Like the Fredo thing blew up, and we got a whole bunch out of that. And there's been a couple like Nancy Pelosi things that I posted that just went crazy, and it's so fun to watch because now we're actually able to see a count of how deep of a penetration this goes. And I didn't mean that to sound as dirty as it did.
A bunker buster. A bunker
exactly. A bunker buster. Yeah, but our numbers are great. I couldn't be happier. Well, I could be happier if we got more people, but no, I mean it's great. But tell your friends, man. Everybody start posting stuff. Let's make this a big community instead of me just posting stuff and everybody liking it and sharing it and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I'd like to, parlay a little bit of it for the show. I try to, cross post things over there myself, but it is an interesting place. There's a lot of people in there that I know that are watching that, from back in the beginning. Some names I see on there.
What's funny is I got banned this week, right? I sent you a thing.
Yeah.
I got banned off of Facebook, and I actually fought it, and I said, basically, how can you argue and ban me because of history? And they ended up coming back and saying we made a mistake.
That's awesome.
They released me from jail because, that was the bottom line. It was what I had posted was, with all, especially, recently, just the other day, Biden came out and said he compared President Trump to the Klan and whatnot. And what they don't really remember is that when the Republicans freed the slaves, the Democrats responded by creating the KKK. That's where they came from. And they keep trying, it's the Goebbels thing where they accuse you of what they're guilty of, because they're like, oh, the Republicans are the party of the Klan. No, you guys created the Klan.
Yeah, that whole thing gets stale. I mean, and when you start going down, it's in the 1800s, there was a lot of blame to go around everywhere. But, to call the Republicans KKK is just slanderous.
No, but that goes back to the whole Goebbels thing. You accuse your opponent of what you're guilty of.
100%. Couldn't agree more. I'm getting ready to prove it here in a minute. But first, let me give a major league shout out to William for an outstanding donation to get us to CPAC, and also to, check this out, Weaponized Sloth Productions for becoming a Cold War Radio patron. We hope you enjoy the program. I know William does. Weaponized Sloth Productions. I hope you do too. And just heads up to anybody who's a patron, in case you don't know it, there's additional programming that occurs on Saturday and Sunday on the weekends at 8 p.m. until my material runs out. I mean, I only have a limited amount of Steel City Resistance TV that's unless I can figure out a way, and I might have to talk to Ward about this offline. I do have a ton when Mr. J came on, but they're from Spreecast, and the last time I tried to play one, it didn't operate well. But we'll figure that out, and then that's on Sundays, the original airing day of Steel City Resistance, and on Saturdays, I've got about 20 or 30 clips, or not clips, episodes of Berg's Eye View when we were in Iraq. So that's going to start getting interesting, especially when I start coming home on leave and doing those shows. They were a little interesting, but we'll get to that. So thank you, William, and Weaponized Sloth Productions. I want to go.
That is the greatest name ever.
It is. I know.
I just got to give them a shout. That is the greatest. Weaponized Sloth Productions is the greatest name ever.
Absolutely. WSP, boy. I mean, that's like a slow-moving artillery piece, you know?
Exactly.
So I want to take you to New England College's College Convention 2020 in New Hampshire. I was going to use this as the intro, but I figured if I do that, then I got to go through all that red wording, you know, and then it'd be a few minutes till I got back to you. I wanted to get your immediate response to this. In my opinion, what you're going to hear, there's only one person that's not white in this montage you're going to hear, and she's the one that speaks the sense. But I want you to listen to the state of at least white college age kids, or at least this sample of them. This is what you get when you send these kids to school and tell them from the day they're in nursery school that they suck and that they're responsible for all of the ill things that are happening in the world. And this clip goes out to white parents. I want you to check this out. This is amazing to me.
In January, the College Fix sent a reporter to a convention in New Hampshire aimed at liberal college students to ask these young progressives about race in the 2020 election, President Donald Trump, and the Electoral College. Here are the results. In a recent Democratic debate, Andrew Yang was the only person of color on stage.
It's both an honor and disappointment to be the lone candidate of color on the stage tonight.
Do you feel that the Democrat candidate pool is too white?
I think really any pool you're going to get is going to be too white.
Yeah, I agree. I think any party is too white.
Yeah, I kind of echo what those two said.
Yeah, the stage was definitely too white.
Unfortunately, the party has top down been white.
Do you feel that the Democratic candidacy pool is too white?
Yes. What is best for America is increased diversity, particularly racial diversity, given the centuries of racial inequity that we perpetuated in the United States.
Christ.
Are you concerned that most of the major Democratic frontrunners are white?
Yeah, I do see it as an issue, especially since white Caucasians won't be the majority in like 10 years. So I feel like there should be a representation of all the different minorities right now in our country, especially since they're being affected by our current president. So
I think it is troubling that he was the only non-white candidate on the stage, but I also think that all the candidates on stage, most of them were qualified, and I like their views. So I think it's also important to be qualified and have good views. So I think that's more important than your color.
Under Trump,
that was the black girl, biracial girl. But you know, ladies and gentlemen, if that was any of your kids, fathers, turn your man card in. Can you imagine any other race saying this?
No, I don't.
Can you imagine a bunch of black students saying, "Oh, it's too black"? No, it's just too black. It's too Chinese.
In the first place, Andrew Yang wasn't the only person of color. Elizabeth Warren was there,
Right,
so the Indians
exactly.
were represented.
The Cherokee was in the house, in the teepee, for sure.
Exactly. So, I mean, that's in the first place. the second, it's ridiculous that you're apologizing for something that you didn't do. Nobody said that there couldn't be a black candidate on the stage, but why? Why does the person have to be black? Why do they have to be red or white or green? Why can't it just be a person who has great ideas?
And why do you hate yourself? Who taught you to hate yourself like that? Why can't you be proud of yourself? Be proud of what your freaking people have done on this earth.
What, I mean, it's not even that. I mean, I don't have a problem with an intelligent black man that's running for president. I mean, I like Ben Carson.
That's not the point. I'm talking about these people.
But my point is the fact that these kids think that you have to look at the color of the guy on the stage to determine whether or not he deserves your vote. I think that you shouldn't be able to see the person. I think you should just have to hear the person and hear their thoughts and hear their ideas and not concentrate on what color they are, because I don't think that has anything to do with it.
Don't you think that them obviously focusing on this, they were all direct and they answered immediately. Don't you think some of that has to do with self-loathing that they've been taught?
There's definitely a self-loathing component to it. But I also think that it's part of the indoctrination that they go through at college where, okay, well, we're going to, you're a white guy, so you're bad because your ancestors did this and that and the other thing. In the first place, my ancestors weren't even in this country when most of that stuff happened.
And
my ancestors didn't get here till the 1900s. So.
The whole concept of color. I remember Kat, one of our listeners, drew a portrait of me just in pencil, an outline of my face and my microphone and headphones, and titled it "The Colorless Man," because that's what I say. I'm invisible. I don't have a color, I guess, according to this analogy of people of color. But I don't know. I think it's damaging, and I think it's something that it's sad. It really is to hear these people say it that way, And it's not done yet. We're only a third of the way through the clip. We'll bring you back in a second, Ward.
Presidency, black and Latino unemployment have hit all-time lows, while the stock market has reached new highs.
We have created 2.4 million new jobs. African American unemployment stands at the lowest rate ever recorded, and Hispanic American unemployment has also reached the lowest levels in history.
Does this impact your position on Trump?
Not in the slightest. I don't think there's anything that Donald Trump could do to win my support at this point.
Really, he hasn't had any kind of positive effect on the economy, so that's just kind of deflecting for people who don't really understand what's going on.
She doesn't have a job.
The stock market is kind of a faulty form of testing how good the economy is doing.
Over the last couple of years of President Donald Trump's time in office, we've seen black and Latino unemployment drop while stock prices climb. How does this impact your view of the president?
He's a racist.
Well, I would say I have to do more research into that.
Those statistics make me incredibly sad.
We've seen black and Latino unemployment drop while stock prices climb.
Because I feel as though he's supporting racism and he just is not a good leader in general. So it just reflects poorly on him. It reflects poorly on us. And
Black unemployment lowest in history. I just feel that he's bringing racism to the forefront.
Very much so do not support that.
If a Democrat were to win the White House in 2020, what's one Trump policy that you would hope to see reversed?
Now, this is going to stun you guys. This, especially those of you that are in the workforce and have benefited from the tax cuts. Listen to these children.
Man, where do I start? Transgender ban, military, tax cuts for the wealthy.
Literally everything. The tax cut, DACA, that immigrant stuff at the border, there literally hasn't done anything. I would just erase everything.
Should a Democrat win in 2020, what's one Trump policy that you would hope is reversed?
Probably the tax cut, simply because I don't believe trickle-down
Heard nothing
economics
else.
is functional.
Probably the only reason they could afford her college.
I can't say offhand.
Do you think the Electoral College should be abolished?
I think so, definitely.
What happened with Hillary is completely unfair,
Oh, yeah.
so it's something we should definitely be looking at.
Do you feel that the Electoral College should be abolished?
I do.
I think the Electoral College should be abolished.
So I absolutely think the Electoral College should be abolished.
I think that the popular vote should have a larger impact and a larger voice in deciding our elections.
I think that popular vote should have a bigger impact.
I think the Electoral College should be abolished just because I think it's really messed up how the majority of people will vote for one candidate, yet it can be reversed just based off of 200 people's opinions. So I don't think it should.
200
The Electoral College played an important role in the 2016 election. Do you feel that it should continue to exist in the 2020 election and beyond?
No, I do not.
So we just heard from Senator Amy Klobuchar, and one of the things she mentioned was abolishing the Electoral College. Is this a measure that you would support?
I don't think so. Not because I think the Electoral College is always right. I just think it's kind of been in place for so long for maybe a reason. Honestly, I don't know much about the Electoral College, but I feel like that's kind of a drastic measure to take.
Let me give you a little lesson, Toots, about those 200 people that you quoted. If it wasn't for the Electoral College, there would not be a United States of America.
Not today.
Nope. If there's no Electoral College, we got the Balkans right here. And you're not going to have African Americans. You're going to have South Dakota Pennsylvanians. You know, I mean, it's, don't forget who grows your food, you fools. I don't know. That stunned me, Ward. I caught that, and I said, I have to bring this to the show, man. I know there's a lot of other news out there, but, man, that stunned me.
Well, the one that got me was there was a list that went out, and I retweeted it, a list of senators that voted against the USMCA, and one of them was Toomey, which of course just irritated the absolute crap out of me because there's absolutely nothing in this bill that does nothing but helps our economy. It between that and the bill with or the deal with China. The China deal is going to make us $200 billion. Make the farmers $200 billion a year.
Toomey's out of his mind, man. Toomey is absolutely nuts.
They won't sign off on it.
He was the only one, too. He was the only one. Republican.
He was the only Republican,
Yeah.
But of course he was. He's a
globalist. He's a globalist. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, while it's on my mind, I told you this the other day. If I don't say it when I'm thinking about it, I'll forget about it because I got so much in front of me here. But you have to go to steelcityresistance.com, and you got to scroll down a little bit because over the weekend I was doing some foodie stuff, Ward, and I had to throw a video up there about Fiore's Pizza and the original hot dogs. I threw up one about them and some other Permane brothers. I had to add Permane brothers in there, just to give a little flavor of Pittsburgh on the website. But if you scroll down below that, there's a video by a woman that is, in my opinion, just on fire. Her name is Millie Weaver. On Twitter, she's Millennial Millie. And on YouTube, she's Millennial Millie. And she works for Alex Jones. And you can make up your own mind, but you go to steelcityresistance.com and scroll down until you see her explanation of what the Space Force is. And you're gonna feel better. You're gonna go to sleep after the show. Don't do it now. After the show, go there. I think it's like 20 minutes long. And Ward, she has a report. I don't know how she does it, but she is right up there on par with the conservative treehouse. I mean, she is spot on.
That's saying something.
It is. And I wouldn't say that lightly. I want to get, when you get a chance, you watch it and get back to me and tell me what you think. Because this is monumental. I mean, she puts everything together, and Donald Trump is definitely divine intervention. There's no question in my mind whatsoever. Now, you were talking earlier, Ward, about brother Joe Biden and making remarks about the KKK. So let's go to church.
It's contagious when you're in a black church. That's why Barack says when we went to a couple of black churches today, he said, I'm not going preaching with you again. But all kidding aside, folks, we all remember we're going to celebrate Dr. King's legacy this week. But everybody remembers the I Have a Dream. But what I think we forget is what he said after that. He said, it's a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. He then went on to say, this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. Dr. King didn't give up on the dream. And I'm asking you all, don't give up on it. Don't give up now. We can defeat this moment of hate. We can defeat this moment of change. We can do this. And folks,
this moment of change.
We have an opportunity to be, I think, and this is my concluding comment, Doc, that we can, in fact, we're at another inflection point, just like when Bull Connor came along. He thought he drove a stake in the heart of the movement. This president and the Ku Klux Klans and the rest of them, they think they've beaten us again. But they have no idea. We're just coming back. God love you all.
How dare you? How dare you? How dare you continue to look away? People are suffering. People are dying. Entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you?
It's an embarrassing moment to be a Democrat. I'm so glad I'm not one.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean,
did you see? This is probably my favorite news story, and it didn't make the list. And I got to share this with our friends out there. Trump kills Michelle's lunch program on her birthday.
Yeah,
how awesome was that? It's like,
smooth.
Okay, I've already wiped out your husband's legacy. There's absolutely nothing that belongs to him. And just for shits and giggles, I'm going to slap you around a little bit on your birthday. Happy birthday.
Oh, my goodness. Now
kids can eat real lunches.
I got to tell you a funny story about that. Just a quick one. My stepson is a environmental type guy, right? He's got his head screwed on right, but he's all about, doing what we can to not damage stuff. And I have no problem with it. I have a compost pile in my house, that I built on purpose because I wanted to, reclaim some of that organic material. And he went to his school, and he goes to SciTech down in Oakland. And when he was a sophomore, he went to his principal and said, hey, man, I want to make a compost pile for the cafeteria. Because he saw the Obama lunches, nobody was eating the stuff. It was, they were generating garbage bag after garbage bag of apples, bananas, and oranges because nobody was eating them. No, those kids, they want some fries. You know how it was at Central. They had that fry station for lunch. Man, that's what you wanted, some French fries. So it made his burden real. I mean, he had to do a lot of work on that thing. But anyway, that's just a side note. It's real is my point. They were really, really throwing this stuff away.
Well, and here's the thing. I mean, it's one thing to go and build, a compost pit or whatever and try and do something actual instead of believing that you throwing money at the government is somehow going to change the weather.
Exactly. And I've talked to him extensively about it. And, man, I'm going to tell you what, Ward. I had 2 other kids. I never seen the amount of mail this kid gets. He's a senior now. And he's like everything that you could be, he's that. You know what I mean? He's that kid that was in high school that was at the top of every list except football, and he gets college requests 10 a day. It's unbelievable. He's probably going to go to Maine, but Anyway, so and like I said, and I had conversations with him. It's like, look, I said it because this is the kid that made me drag him to every single Trump rally within 50 miles of here. You know what I mean? We've been to about 5 of them. You know, me and him, and no excuses. If he's here, you got to take me. All right, how can I turn that down? Right, a kid that age, and an environmentalist too. You know, so we've had conversations about the extortion.
I don't have a problem with environmentalists and people want to make the environment, clean water and all that stuff.
As long as that's their motive. As long as that's their motive.
My enemy.
Right.
My enemy is the Greta Thunberg that comes out and tells me what a bastard I am for driving a car. They're the people, these, environmental terrorists are the ones that I have a problem with. The ones that lit the fires in Australia. They're the ones I have a problem with. The ones that lit the fires in the Amazon to prove that global warming is causing all this.
Or Texas.
They lit the fires.
Or California. I mean, I think you could make a case that they did that here. But
it's
did you see
terrorism? And they blame they blame the
oil companies or the oil company, right? Yeah, but did you see the story that her father is the one that writes her Facebook posts?
Yeah. After he came out, he came out like a week or two before that and was saying, "Oh, she has problems and she's a little disturbed and it's
she's got Asperger's.
They're taking advantage of her." Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And then then it comes out that he's the one writing her posts on Facebook.
Right.
And it's like, okay, well, and I didn't think she was. I knew that she was propped up and whatnot.
The problem with that disease is that I've heard psychiatrists, I guess, I mean, it's a mental disorder, Asperger's, come out and say that once something gets in their minds, they believe it. They believe it doesn't matter. And they're easy to program. If you get somebody close to them and they have that disorder, they don't have a whole lot of critical thinking capability, I guess. That's evil, man, to me. Now, I want to...
Yeah, I mean, but that's the Democrats' platform, right? Get a kid, take advantage of him in some way or another.
Sure.
And then
get some victim.
Him. I mean,
not just a kid, any victim. I mean, get a black guy, get a trans testicle, get a... whatever, it's that's who they prey on is victim people that they can portray as victims, and I have to send condolences to the Jerry Nadler family because I think Jerry Nadler has a cousin in Iraq because they had this obese Islamic State mufti got arrested by Iraqi SWAT the other day, and that son of a bitch looked just like Gerald Nadler, man. He had the gear.
Well, that was the amount that they took off of him when he had the surgeries and whatnot. So they built another one and sent him to Iraq.
That was the scraps, yeah. So I guess you remember the Jerry Nadler of the 80s.
Oh, yeah. He
was huge. He was huge, man. Woo. So I just had to bring that out there. Sorry to the Nadler family in New York. But I guess we're winning, man. I mean, you don't see this in the news, but 2.5 million, 2.4 million, to be closer to the truth, households in the United States of America are off grub stubs, man, off food stamps under President Trump. That's a good deal, man. That's excellent.
Well, and that's one.
And the globalists hate it.
One of the things he campaigned on.
Right. Yeah. I thought that was one of the best titles I ever heard. I can't remember who made it up. Who called Obama the food stamp president? That was beautiful. I can't remember who did it, but that was one that should have stuck, and it didn't, because he certainly was.
Actually, I think it was. What the hell's his name? He was the speaker right before Pelosi.
Boehner.
No.
Oh,
Boehner.
Paul Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan. I think Ryan's the one who said it.
Really? That's a good one. That was even though Ryan wasn't.
I think he actually said that during the campaign.
I'll tell you what, that audio clip that you heard of the college kids up in New England, in New Hampshire, If you look at the video clip, if you remember in that audio clip, President Trump came out and started quoting the black unemployment numbers and everything. That was clear back when Paul Ryan was the Speaker of the House, and he was saying that at the State of the Union address. So you had to look at Paul Ryan as Trump was saying that, and you could see the hatred in Paul Ryan's face when the president was saying that. Because you're wrecking their world, man. Their globalist world. Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, go back to SteelCityResistance.com and watch Millie Weaver. Watch Millennial Millie. Good stuff. Now, Trump was right again. I'm starting to think every time this man opens his mouth, he's right, no matter what he says. You remember a year ago, Ward, during Hurricane Maria and the president's response to it in Puerto Rico, and then, the spat between the Puerto Rican state government and the president. Well, he was right. A warehouse in Puerto Rico was discovered this week filled with United States survival aid for Hurricane Maria. We ought to just say, you know what, man, you guys, you're not really providing a whole lot of quality to the United States of America. Maybe you ought to go back to Spain or something. I don't know. I'm sick of this shit.
Here's the thing. I mean, think about this, though, man. It wasn't last year. It was 2 years ago that Maria hit.
Okay.
Because I was in the Caribbean when Maria hit, and that was 2 years ago. So they've had supplies in a warehouse for 2 years that were meant for the Puerto Rican people. And they accused the president of not providing any kind of assistance, et cetera.
I think I remember something, too, that it was the biggest amount of aid ever given by the federal government in an emergency. It was a huge amount. I mean, it was really up there.
Yeah. I remember them sending tons of stuff, and their power grid was crap, and it's still crap. And then they just had a couple earthquakes, and that really screwed the power grid again. I don't understand how their power grid is so just terrible.
No, I mean, if you know these politicians, because they got the Bentleys and the Rolls Royces, and it was supposed to be for step up, step down transformers and whatnot. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a couple callers.
Aluminum wiring.
Yeah, right. The trailer court wiring for the main line. But we got a couple callers on the line. We got Ken from King George. We got Rico from Kentucky. What's going on, fellas? Ken first.
Oh, hey, I just wanted to, wish everybody, hope everybody had a day off or a great day off to celebrate Dr. Martin Luther King, if you had the day off. Those of us in the government or that work for the government.
What's up, Rico?
Hey, man, what's going on? I was listening to some of the news, and this Martha McSally woman, the senator, just basically called a CNN reporter a fucking political hack, and I thought, I'm not going to talk to you. I thought that was awesome. But one of the things I also listened to was this, they had some of the Democrats at this Iowa educational convention or something like that. And I don't know if it was Warren or Klobuchar, but one of them said something about mental illness, right? I'm all for helping people with mental illness. So she basically said there are kids that are worried and wanting to commit suicide because they think that their mom and dad are going to be deported by Trump. And they use Trump's name. I said, that's cold as hell. That's a cold thing to say.
That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's all political with these people. And, the New York Times, this is unprecedented. The New York Times, before one primary or caucus happens in Iowa, has not endorsed one, but endorsed two candidates for president, Klobuchar and Pocahontas. Two women. And of course, this is in retaliation for the lie or truth, I don't know whether it's a truth or a lie, that Bernie Sanders told Elizabeth Warren no woman could be elected president, which is about stupid. That was a stupid comment. But that's what they say.
Well, here's the thing, too, though, Hutch. Think about this. For the next, however long this trial takes, Elizabeth Warren is stuck at the Senate. Bernie Sanders is stuck at the Senate. They're beating Bernie out of the nomination again, and he's too stupid to see it.
Oh, I know.
And that's exactly what's happening.
That is what's happening.
Him and Warren, because they want Biden to be they want Biden to be the nominee.
And really,
and
how
they
can
will
you
light
have?
The place on fire.
I know there's no precedent for it, but how can you have? This is why that all impeachments, other than this one, were in a president's second term. We're at the beginning of his second term. Clinton, Nixon, I'm not so sure about Johnson. But how can these senators that are in the primary to defeat the president not recuse themselves or be recused from the whole impeachment trial? They're a guaranteed vote, no matter the facts. They're a guaranteed vote to convict.
Who would vote against? I mean, that's basically voting against yourself.
Exactly.
But
exactly.
At the same time, the fact that you have to be there, and Biden's still able to go out now. Biden should say, "Hey, I'm gonna stop my campaign until the other candidates are out." Do you think that's going to happen?
No, they're backstabbers.
Hell to the no.
Hell's to the no. You're right. All right. It's about 8:45, almost, and we're going to shift gears. And I'm glad I got you guys on the line. I hope you can stay for a couple seconds. I want to start talking. I want to start talking about Virginia. All right, and the first thing I'm going to do is provide some media coverage, what the world is seeing, what was supposed to happen this morning in Richmond, and boy, it's bad news, folks.
Right now, thousands of gun rights activists, white nationalists, militia groups, all swarming the Virginia state capitol.
There are a lot of people nervous about what's going to happen.
Authorities in Richmond are on high alert.
It could be a tense day.
Such polarization, what may happen in Virginia.
Several hate groups, supposedly some white nationalists.
White nationalists.
White nationalists. White nationalists.
White nationalist groups.
White supremacists. White supremacists. White supremacists. White extremists.
This entire rally stands in opposition to the meaning of this day.
Virginia on the edge. How concerned are you that there might be some people in this crowd that may want to get violent?
There's certainly a lot of concern here.
Raising fears of a dangerous confrontation.
There could be violence. There is real concern there about what the intention is behind this.
There's a lot of concern about the potential for violence.
Could spark violence. Tensions high in Virginia may cause violence there.
Northam clearly trying to avoid another Charlottesville.
Yeah. In Charlottesville. Could see a repeat of what we saw in 2017 in Charlottesville.
Similar to what we saw in Charlottesville.
We're a repeat of Charlottesville.
Horrible 2017 Charlottesville disaster.
You look at what happened in Charlottesville.
The two sides clashed in Charlottesville.
Men walk through the Capitol in Virginia carrying weapons of war.
Many demonstrators are, in fact, heavily armed.
Heavily armed.
Heavily armed. Look at the gear.
What is this all about?
Militia groups. Our militia.
These militia groups.
Far-right militias. Militia groups.
Far-right extremists. Extremists.
Look, those threats which caused the governor to call for a state of emergency have simply not emerged. The police very clear in saying that they have not had a single arrest during this rally.
All right, the white people are going crazy in Virginia, guys. I mean, this, and we even have another. We have another esteemed reporter on the ground. Regina just checked in from Richmond. This is going to be a good segment, and probably
Regina attended.
Yeah, I know, and I sat there, and I got to tell you, initially, and I told Regina this in our Cold War Radio message board, VF, what is it, CWR, VFW2, something like that. We'll get that straightened out here in a second because Ken's running it. But I was of the mind that, look, man, don't even go. Don't even go. This is a setup. But, man, they did good, man. I was watching, and I got to say, the internet was compromised during this thing. I looked hard and wide, and I found a couple feeds. The one from Breitbart, I don't know if Breitbart didn't have their own satellite internet or what, but the internet, the video kept pixelating, throughout the whole thing, to the point where, guess where I went to see it? I went to Russian TV. I went to Rupley, and it was perfect, and it showed these guys, and I cringed a couple times at the beginning when I saw these guys, but then I was thinking, you know what? It's a good thing that the government sees that there are enough people that have 1,000 rounds on their body as they're walking through Richmond with a long gun. So I don't know. I just let's go in order, and let's go to Ken first. Your thoughts, sir?
Okay, well, I wanted to go, and I'm kicking myself in the ass for not going now. But I do know 4 people that were actually on the ground down there. And the feedback I was getting from what they were posting on their own personal walls on Facebook was, it was awesome. There were black people, white people, Chinese people, Korean people. Everybody was down there. No problems. Now, I did catch part of that Breitbart feed, and when they rolled up on the guy with the 50 cal, I was like, holy shit.
Oh, I know. It was something. And all right, so let me keep this going. Rico, I'm going to come back to you because you're in Kentucky, but I want to go to Richmond and Regina and get your thoughts.
Sorry, I'm trying not to laugh. I'm trying to be...
Talk to us.
I went and I kind of tried to give y'all the heads up about Richmond. I went and it sucked because you got to go uphill, and that always kicks my ass.
Right.
And plus it was cold, and that wasn't helping.
Oh, it was freezing. There was people out there for hours.
Oh yeah. And it was a packed house. I went in there. It was like guns everywhere, and I was like, "This is cool."
But Regina,
this is just cool.
But Regina, it was 100% white people. There was only white people there. It was all.
So what's your name?
My name's Mark from Northern Virginia.
Okay, where in Northern Virginia?
Northern Virginia.
Okay, all right. How far did you have to travel today?
2 hours.
And so why did you think it was important to drive those 2.5 hours?
One, I love this country. It's about the Second Amendment. It's about our ability to defend ourselves and our loved ones. It's not only a constitutional right issue, but it's also a civil right issue. The governor, who's known for blackface and or possibly having a Klan's hood on, has the audacity on MLK Day to declare executive order that would prevent people from lawfully protesting. This has been a long-standing rally where people have come and they have protested, and then on top of that, to add insult to injury, he wanted to push forward a narrative that white supremacists are stirring up issues. I feel comfortable here, haven't had any issues here. I don't know what the problem is. So it for me, as an African American on MLK Day, is critically important that we preserve the ability to defend ourselves.
Oh my God!
And I will not allow anybody to push a narrative saying that there are racist people at these rallies. It's not true.
He has color.
Now your sign says we will not comply.
Absolutely. Just as the sheriff in some of the counties have said, we're not going to enforce laws that are unconstitutional. We will not comply. We will do whatever means necessary. Legislatively, vote people out of office, make sure it goes through the court process, but we're not going to just lay down and allow people to strip us of our ability to defend ourselves and our loved ones. So that's what we will not comply means for me.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for talking with us.
Absolutely.
That was just a little small corner, though, off to the side. That wasn't the real rally. These were freaking white people that wanted white supremacy. I'm telling you. That's the way it is.
Okay, why am I out here? Basically, I'm out here because I got roped into it by the group of guys you see standing to my right. But the real reason I'm out here is I do not support in any way, shape, or form Governor Northam's and the Democrats' gun control. What I also don't support is the fact that every news piece you've seen on this weekend, they've always brought up the issue of race, as though it's nothing but white rednecks and hillbillies out here who care for the Second Amendment, when actually Black Americans, Asian Americans, Hispanic Americans, Americans in general care about the Second Amendment. I work at a gun store part-time, and I can't tell you the number of customers I see of all races, all colors, all creeds, who care about the Second Amendment and who just want to peaceably live their lives, enjoy their rights, and the Second Amendment. So that's why I'm out here. And big media, mainstream media be damned. If you take a good look at me, you can see I'm a Black American, and all I'm out here for is to enjoy my Second Amendment rights. That's why I'm here.
Great. And tell us about what do you think about the cordoning off that's going on out here of the Capitol area?
You know what? It's great. What we ought to do is everybody just walk up with master locks, put master locks on the gates, and lock that bastard in. That's what. No, to be quite honest, shut up. What I honestly think about it is, it's wrong. This is our capital. We pay for these grounds. This is not some place for the king to hold up in. This is our capital. This is our state. We have the right to petition for redress of our government, of our grievances. And our grievance today is their treatment of us and the Second Amendment. So the fact that he's got to hide behind fences like he's the king in Braveheart, I think is complete and utter garbage.
God bless that guy. I'm going to tell you. Let me tell you why this guy gets pure hate from the media, because this guy's probably a working guy. He probably works with these four white dudes that are next to him, or either their neighbors or whatever. They're friends. You could tell. He was busting on them, during the interview. But that's America right there. God damn it, that's America. And excuse my language, Regina, but did that sound accurate?
Yeah. Yep, and get this, had a black girl down there with an AR.
There you go.
I saw her. I was like, "You go, girl."
A lot of people don't realize that the NRA, one of the founding missions of the NRA, was to make sure that newly black American citizens that had been slaves had the ability to bear arms. There was a big thing back in the 1800s, the late 1800s, that the Jim Crow laws that prevented black people from purchasing certain types of weapons. Like the Colt 45 was there was a lot of them around from the Civil War and things like that, and they tried to get black people that weren't allowed to buy Colt 45s. They could only buy small caliber weapons, and the NRA came in anyway. So,
have Richmond 2 worst nightmares showed up too.
Who's that? you for one, probably.
No. I'm short. This person, he showed up in his tank.
Oh, I did see Alex Jones did show up. He did roll it. Did you see him? Did you see him?
I saw him.
Oh! You should have took a picture of him.
And he was in his tank and he was circling around the block in downtown Richmond with the bullhorn.
That's funny as hell.
Yelling.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like that. Talking about, let me see, Hillary Clinton emails, including the babies, the frogs, and George Soros. He was looping around the circle, and I was like, Lord have mercy. I was like, Richmond is going to be talking about this for a long time because they haven't seen anything like this before. And and come to find out, he's got fans in Richmond. I didn't know he had fans in Richmond.
Oh, man. I mean, the guy's reporting is phenomenal. And let me get to the rest of the callers here.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Thanks, Regina. But Alex Jones has an armored car. I don't know if he bought it. Oh, obviously he bought it. but it's not a very formidable armored car, but it is an armored car, and it has a turret in it. And Alex Jones sits up in the turret with a bullhorn and drives around. My goodness. Rico, what are your thoughts? What's going through your head, sir?
Well, not being too far from Virginia, you think about how many people were there. I think 22,000 people, and out of that, 5,000 or 6,000 of them basically gave up their Second Amendment rights so that they could voice their opinions and use their First Amendment rights.
Right.
And the other 15,000 people basically were guards for them, and that's a beautiful thing, And a thing that I haven't heard much about is the police departments down there, man. They did an excellent job.
They did. There was a little bit of antagonism because police are just that alpha male type person that has to be in charge of the situation, so they get stupid every now and then. But it's we're glad to have them as long as they follow the Constitution.
I think it was a political tailgate, basically.
It was. Disastrous for the Democrats.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Disastrous for the Democrats, I think. No, I agree with you.
Yeah. So next time this happens, something like this happens, I'm going to get the grill out and I'm going to have my own tailgate at my house.
There you go. The thing that
under the barn,
the subterranean studio. But the
thing. Can I tell y'all extra information?
Absolutely.
Apparently, see, a lot of people didn't know this about Richmond. They're a towing and ticketing track. So a lot of people didn't know about that.
About the what?
They closed the garages down here so nobody could park.
So
okay.
How smooth is that?
Yeah, and then they also the Richmond Police Department down here have drones, so that explains their space.
The no-fly zone, yeah, right. And,
you know
why that was.
They also have 4 helicopters down there circling the whole block, watching everybody.
You know why they blocked that airspace? So nobody could get an aerial shot of the crowd.
Yep.
Yeah, but somebody did because
I know.
Did.
Somebody will launch a drone or something.
I was going to try to message you, Regina, and say, hey, you know anybody with a drone? Somebody with a drone should put it up there and, show the crowd. But, it didn't work. It was a disaster, in my opinion.
And then the other part is that we have people, I guess they had to work in the offices down there. And they were putting stickers on the windows.
Good ones or bad ones?
Good ones.
Awesome.
Gun Save Lives stickers. They were putting them on the windows.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't see it, and Ken, I'm coming to you next. If they didn't see it, the people, I guess they had to go through checkpoints. My wife was telling me that you couldn't even have a lighter in there. If you went through the checkpoint, you got that. Go ahead.
Oh, that's the other part. We didn't go inside on the lawns of the thing. Everybody stood outside.
Yeah, that's right.
We stood outside of the perimeter. So
and those were the guys.
Everybody had the weapons.
And those were the guys that had the rifles. Right.
Yeah, the people on the inside was the ones that went through the checkpoint, the warning, and all that.
And they had like a fluorescent sticker. Or no. I mean, there was a fluorescent sticker that was out there that some group must have provided that said "Gun Save Lives." All right, Ken, over to you, sir. Ken, Ken, you got the mic.
Yeah, that's the VCDL. They showed up at all these Second Amendment sanctuary rallies. So that's the Virginia Citizens Defense League. They had representatives showing up, especially down in Richmond, but at all these Second Amendment sanctuary rallies that they were having, during most of the Board of Supervisors meetings, they were handing those out left and right. In fact, I got one, took the one off my jacket, and it's on my toolbox now. So
all right, good deal.
But so one of the videos I saw this morning, there was some guy out down there with a bullhorn, and he was talking about, going in there and rushing the place, and like 4 or 5 guys talking down, you're like, This isn't.
Oh, the infiltrator.
We're here.
The infiltrator. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Do you think he was an infiltrator?
I have no idea.
I think he was just a dumb kid.
Yeah.
I mean, because you got to admit, man, you got to admit, when you see these things happening, and you see the equivalent, that was, if you look at the crowd, and you think, all right, who is motivated to come out to this event? You have to come to the conclusion that everybody in that crowd owned at least one gun. Yeah, I mean, why else would you be there?
Well, yeah, I mean, either that or they're defending the Constitution,
right?
Which is an oath that we swore to do. So I can understand that too. Whether or not they have a gun, I mean, they're for, freedom of guns.
But my point is, like, that was a powerful group of people, man.
Oh yeah. Well,
I mean, there's no government, no police, no nothing is going to stand those guys down. If the situation was 6 months in the future and everything that Northam, that Governor Blackface wanted to implement, got implemented, and then now you have all these people and they did their peaceful thing. They went out there and they tried to assemble peacefully and everything. Well, what's next, man? If that doesn't work, what's next? You either lay down or you go there. And if these people would have went there with the mission of ousting the government, which is what the Second Amendment's all about, by the way, they would have been successful.
What this guy was, with the bullhorn was preaching, and one of the guys was like, okay, are you ready today to, the revolution starts?
And he said, yeah, I know.
Right now.
Yeah, that was bad. Yeah, that was a setup.
And I was like, and like I said, 4 or 5 guys, ended up talking to me. They're like, man, dude, we don't want your help. What you're spewing is just fanning the fire, basically. Like, look, 3/4 of them people that were down there just want to live a normal life. Get on about their business, go to work, come home, take care of the kids, cook dinner, maybe do some pork belly every so often, and
There you go. Hey,
and
guys, I want to thank you so much, Regina, Ken, and Rico, on this issue, to have you guys so close to the event and to choose my show to call into. I want to thank you very much for that. You're giving a great.
One more real quick thing.
Go ahead, Ken.
So I did specify that I had 4 guys that I know personally that were there.
Okay.
And like I said, all the stuff I got, they said, they were interfacing with the police. The police were cool, because half them, half the police were all gun owners too, not just their service, revolver or, pistol that they carry to work. But
right.
They said, they were having a good time with the police. And
I even saw some county sheriffs that got on the camera and said, oh, hell no, we would never enforce this. And that's a blow. That's a blow to these communists, man. It really is. And that's why our government and the, compartmentalism, the way it works, and the separation of powers and the separation of the different levels of government is so important. The elected county sheriff of a county is the supreme commander of that county up to the federal government. They could take over, but I don't know. It's I was inspired, Ken.
The funniest thing that I saw, and I'm going to try to dig up this picture again. One of the guys that was down there that went down there. So the guy with the Barrett, the 50 cal, yeah.
Right.
Well, there were 3 black gentlemen, it was 2 black gentlemen and I think a black woman. They were all, walking around with ARs.
Right.
Well, they met up with the dude with the 50 cal, and they got a picture of all 4 of them. And the one black guy is wearing wearing a t-shirt or wearing a hoodie that says "Black Guns Matter."
So true.
I
So
thought
true.
that was the funniest shit I'd ever seen in my life.
Absolutely. I like the one where it was, I am statistically able to be killed more quickly by Hillary Clinton than an AR-15. But anyway, guys, thanks for calling in. I appreciate it. I got to move on, guys. Regina,
bye-bye.
Rico, and Ken, thanks for calling in. Absolutely.
No problem. Bye-bye.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, there we go. There's all that,
Well-
man. And let's go ahead. Ralph will get to you in a minute. Go ahead, Ward.
Well, no, I wanted to say earlier this morning, I was, worried about what was going to happen. And I start, following it on, checking on Twitter and whatnot. And somebody posted a video of buses pulling in and people getting off buses. And their quote was, "Why are their buses showing up?" And I'm thinking in my head, I'm going, okay, what if, this is a Soros thing and he's sending in, the Antifa jagoffs that they're going to go in there and they're going to start some
How about they didn't show up? Imagine that. When Americans
they did.
When the evil people of do you think?
I'm thinking they did, and they seen what was going on. They're like, hey, everybody here has got guns.
Let's go to McDonald's, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that this is my fight. I don't want to die on this hill.
Exactly. I think so, too. Ralph from Missouri. What's going on, sir?
Yeah, if you check the chat room, I just posted a video it's on YouTube from Wavy TV 10 down there that has helicopter shots of the entire crowd at that 2A rally.
Was it as big as we thought it was?
Oh, it's huge. The local newscasters were saying something like 15 to 20 thousand people.
The cop said 25,000. Yeah,
I can believe that. I can believe that from the aerial shots and all that. My point is that the cops were just going to be cool, keep the peace if possible, because we're severely outnumbered and outgunned.
Absolutely.
If they try to do something. And that's like you said about the Antifa pukes. I had a story that I put in there a long while back where they were talking about coming down there and pretending to be NRA and all this other crap.
Yeah, I was nervous. I'll admit it. I was nervous.
Well, yeah, especially with the story a couple days ago with the three federales, or the feds caught these three idiots and that had stuff that they were going to go down there and, make a big stink about it and all this. Other story I saw, too, was the NRA was going to ship 30-round or 10-round plus magazines down there to be distributed to the crowd, but I never heard anything about it or anybody saying about it.
They did that. They did that earlier, Ralph. They did that a couple days ago when they went to the state capitol. The NRA did, and they provided blue shirts and 30-round magazines. They actually did do that, but that was a few days ago. That wasn't today. That was before this started.
Well, this past week, talking about guns, did you see the lower receiver of the AR-15 that some of the lawyers that fight these court cases for their clients, because the ATF considers the lower receiver to be a gun.
It is. It is.
Fire bullet.
Yeah, but
that's got to go with it. But
because the lower receiver is the part that has the serial number, Ralph. I'm just telling you. I know this. I'm pretty well read into this, and that's why you can make there's two parts to an M16. Forget the AR-15. There's two parts to an M16 or an M4 that you need to successfully have that weapon, and one is the sear that controls the semi/burst/fully automatic function of the weapon, and but you have to be a gunsmith to get that. But the lower receiver is the portion. When you go on any gun shop website, you can buy upper receivers, hand guards, everything, Picatinny rails, accessories. for the 5.56 semi-automatic rifle that people like to call the AR-15 or the M4 or whatever. But the only one you can't buy is the lower receiver, unless you buy. You can buy it, but you have to buy it like you said. You have to buy it like it's a weapon, like it's the end product.
Right.
Because of the serial number.
What we're arguing is that technically, if you had just the lower receiver, you couldn't shoot it, but that's what the ATF and everybody kept prosecuting people for possessing illegal firearms, because all they had was the lower receiver and all that. But anyway, this impeachment thing tomorrow is going to turn into a three-ring circus, because the Democrats are pissed off because Mitch is holding his ground on this witness business, and mainly that he's not going to stand there. He's like, you guys had a chance to do all this witness calling and everything in Congress. You're not going to turn around and make a dog and pony show out here in the Senate.
Ralph, let me interrupt you and ask, because that's my job, and ask you a question. Do you think that witnesses should be called?
Generally speaking, yes, but I know what the outcome would be. The thing would turn into first off, it's like they've been speculating that they're going to call Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, and the unknown whistleblower and all that. And
see, I say no. I say no. I say no.
I don't want to.
Fuck the witnesses. I've already blown the explicit tab. Well, Rico did that for me. So now I can just say what I want. But I don't want to go down that road, because I don't trust the Republicans.
I want Mitch, like he talked about here a couple days ago at the end of last week. He said he has 51 votes to hold the fort. So they convene the Senate. They seat everybody for the day. The judge is there and all this, and they let the Dems from the Congress make their case. And then the first thing that Trump's A-team is going to do is sit there and say, you can't impeach a person for not having anything that's an impeachable offense.
And that's where I think it should end, right there. I think it should be Ward, your thoughts, Ward.
No, that's absolutely right. I think that once they make their opening statements, and Dershowitz or whoever they actually use the mouthpiece, whether it's Dershowitz, Ken Starr, or whoever, they go in and they just basically say, okay, number one, that's not an impeachable offense. And at that point, Roberts gavels it and says, we're done.
I think so too.
That's the way it should go. Now, if they're dumb enough to say, okay, we want witnesses, and the Republicans go, okay, we'll give you witnesses, but we're getting Hunter Biden. And they start dropping that might change their tune. So it's like, okay, you want witnesses, we'll give you witnesses, but be careful what you ask for, because if we do, we're going to turn around and these are the guys we're going to call.
Yeah.
And the thing is, they're protecting Biden. They want Biden to be the nominee. That's why she held the impeachment hearings. That's why she held the documents, is so that it would be drawn out until the point where, that's why they rushed to sign them and to vote on it, so that she could hold it and release it just in time for the Iowa caucus.
You know what's going to be so sad is to watch our beloved president disembowel the Biden crime family. I mean, he's going to do it.
I think he's going to go after Pelosi.
I hope he gets Romney. I hope he gets Romney.
I hope he gets
and Kerry.
Yep.
And everybody else. Ralph, thanks for calling, brother. I appreciate it.
I want him to get Kerry for the Logan Act. I don't want him to get Kerry for this, because I don't care what happens to his kid. I want him put under the jail for going behind the president's back and talking to Iran and whatnot, and advising them on how to beat our foreign policy.
Hey, Ward, say goodbye to Ralph.
Goodbye, Ralph.
Thanks for calling, brother. I appreciate it.
Take it easy, man.
All right, there's Ralph from Missouri, another outstanding Outlook. Let's go. Where am I going to go? I could go to Elizabeth Warren. I don't really want to, but I could, because she's trying to tell everybody why you should really support a liar in the presidential election.
She's decided that she's now not only Chinese, she's also trans.
Is it disqualifying for a presidential candidate to lie to the American public about anything?
I would think that
Man, I couldn't even hear that. Let me tell you what happened in that clip. The reporter asked her, "Do you think that the American people can support a presidential candidate that lies?" And she's like, blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
Well, how does she answer that? Because she knows that she's the biggest liar on the stage.
It's unreal, man.
And she's in some pretty good company to be considered the biggest liar on the stage.
Absolutely. All right, we got a couple calls here, then I got to get down to business. Let's go to Sean from California. He called in first. What's going on, Duke of Cali?
Hey, what's up, Hutch and everybody?
What's up, man?
Well, we got the same thing going on here. It's in the whole Second Amendment thing here is we're still fighting in court right now, the Supreme Court, which we're winning in some areas and we're not winning in some areas. It's really just back and forth.
Did you buy your first gun yet?
What?
Did you buy your first gun yet?
Well,
I mean, if you're scared to answer, that's cool. You don't have to answer, but I'm just saying, you got to get some skin in the game.
Answer, but I made a mistake in my childhood that prevents me from getting a hold of one. That's all I can say.
You're trying to tell me that the King of California is a felon? Ooh, the awkwardness of the radio silence. I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to do that.
Well, no, it's okay. I mean, I paid for my mistake, and I changed myself. That's how it works.
Okay, just checking.
And
good.
I'm going to tell you right now, I do support everybody having a fair chance of getting their guns and saying, "Hey, just make sure you don't do anything stupid with it."
It's a God-given right. So, all right. So, Sean,
God-given right. Yes.
All right. So, what else is happening, man? What's going on?
Well, we're kind of lacking in, the poll area, of course. But, again, that doesn't really concern me because the polls are a bunch of crap. With one of our candidates, Carl DeMaio, he's in the dead heat. But, we had a lot of steam, and now it's kind of slowing down a bit because elections are coming up, and they're trying to push him out of the way to get two Democrats in the slot and push him out of the way. That's what they're trying to do, like I said on the show.
All right.
So that's my update.
All right, man. Well, thanks for calling, man. You have a great week, sir. It's only Monday. You know that.
Yep.
All right, Sean. Thanks for calling.
Take it easy, man.
So let's get back on point. And, damn, I got a lot of extra noise coming. All right, I got rid of that. All right, I talked about Elizabeth Warren, and I got Marlene on the line. You're next, Marlene. But I want to talk about Lynn Wood. Lynn Wood is the attorney for the Covington kid. You remember the Covington kid that sued CNN? And I mean, he's rich now.
Yeah, he got like $275 million.
Yeah,
he made bank.
I don't know how much bank he made because that was, private information. You know how those lawsuits go. You can't tell.
There's a gag order, and you're not allowed to tell. But from everything that I've read online, it's pretty much near. Right
well, he tweeted to what's the guy's name that runs Twitter? Jack somebody.
Yeah, Jack. It's Jack Dorsey.
Okay, so he tweets, "Good morning at Jack." That's his Twitter handle. "My followers on Twitter increase and then decrease. Retweets disappear. Was it something I said? Or maybe you don't like the Beatles. Your agenda against conservatives and at real Donald Trump, ? Maybe we should speak directly to discuss, ? I can arrange that meeting. It's time to start bankrupting these bastards, Ward.
Yeah, and we even kind of touched on it when I got banned this week from Facebook and last week from Twitter. The downside is there's no real conservative place you can go that is like Twitter or Facebook.
And people have tried, and James Chief is trying hard with RD Elephant, but these things came out.
Gab came up, and then Gab took a hit because
and they're all weak.
They're
all weak.
Well, the thing is, it's one of them cases where you have a social media platform that says, okay, we're going to allow, the First Amendment. You can say whatever you want to say. And when people do that, then they basically open their platform up for, defamation, I guess, because they're letting everybody say what they want to say. And then there's these, people out there that don't appreciate the fact that people are saying what they want to say. So immediately it's, oh, you hurt my feelings. And for whatever reason in this country, we've decided that, my rights end where your feelings begin. And I think that's complete crap. So, my rights don't end where your feelings begin. I don't care how you want to phrase that, how you want to frame it. That's the way it is. And these, people that go on these little tangents and do whatever they want to do, it's just complete garbage that we can't have a place that we can go and we can communicate. In fact, I just put a thing on Facebook that was a picture of Joe Biden holding hands during a parade with Byrd, and immediately it came up on Facebook and posted a cover over it saying that this is partially false information. So when you open that up, it says the reason it was partially false is Robert Byrd wasn't the grand dragon of the KKK, but he once led a local chapter. That was because the sentence said Biden with the grand wizard of the KKK. So who is playing with you, lying to you, using you for votes, creators of the KKK, oppose civil rights of blacks? Yeah, that Democratic Party. And it has a picture of both of them. And their objection was the fact that, no, he wasn't the Grand Dragon, but he led a local party.
He was a Cyclops. Let's welcome Marlene to the program from Eugene. Talk to Ward, and I'll be right back.
Okay. Hey, Ward. Hey, Ward.
How's it going?
Oh, my goodness. Oh, not too bad. I said, posted something. Actually, I'm going to skip that. I'll go to something a little more local. I guess just north of me in Salem, I think it's kind of funny that they're thinking about legalizing car camping. And I'm like, whatever.
What is that?
Car camping, what they're saying is that these homeless people, they want to allow them to camp in their cars instead of
cars.
I know. It's so stupid. I thought it was hilarious.
Are they going to buy them cars? I mean, how do they get? I don't know how. I don't know how homeless people get cars.
I don't either. That's a good question. I don't know. I thought it was hilarious. They're saying, I guess there are some homeless people that I guess at one point in their life actually had a car. And so they're living in their cars instead of living in an apartment or whatever. And I just thought it was kind of funny because I'm thinking,
they're trying to figure out a way to tax
yeah, right. Them. You guys, I just thought it was hilarious.
You're right, because I mean that's exactly what it is. They're trying to figure out a way to make money off these homeless people because they're homeless and have no place to live. So we're going to let them live in their car, that they have a car, and then we're going to tax them for it.
That's right. They probably will. That's just around the corner. I'm sure it is.
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah.
And if you know we can't tax you, you're going to have to get in your car and leave the state.
That's right. Oh,
you got a car, now get out.
Yeah, that's right. And here's another funny one. This was from American Thinker. They're talking about immigration, and what they're getting at is that they're worried about, they're concerned about all these Hispanic immigrants, and apparently, let's see, where was it? Let's see, the Spanish government official is worried that Spain needs 8 or 9 million more immigrants to keep the country from dividing into a demographic tailspin. They seem to think that the problem is that Spain is a desperate shortage of more people to tax so they can keep paying for bureaucrats. I mean, especially essential government services. And they were talking about how the conventional wisdom is to bring African and Middle Eastern persons down to Spain. And then he goes on, he says, well, shoot, why do that? You know, we've got all these illegals up here in the United States, a lot of them in California who happen to be Hispanic. Send them to Spain. Why not? I thought it was funny.
They can speak the language. I mean, there wouldn't be a language barrier. I mean, yeah, I get that.
No,
you want to hear the most embarrassing thing about immigration and all these other things? Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about a loser nation.
Yeah.
Their national language is from Spain. They're such losers that, you know, they don't have their original language, the Inca people. You know, they were conquered so badly that their language is Spanish. And the illegal aliens that come to the United States, the vast majority are illiterate in Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that. They got to press 3. Amazing. They got to press 3 or 4. You know, because
for Spanish, but not quite Spanish.
Right.
We're gonna, you know,
they're kind of in between there somewhere.
Oh, I'm just a white supremacist.
Hey,
Marlene,
actually,
thanks for calling.
I do have one.
Go ahead.
Okay. I was listening to Bird's Eye View.
Okay.
And it was hysterical. What's this thing about cheese and marinara sauce? Or was I hearing that wrong? That was so funny.
I refresh my memory, sweetheart. I can't remember. What you're talking about.
Well, you and your friend were talking about the dining hall.
Oh,
and there was
the
something
mess hall.
in there. Yeah, something about cheese sandwiches.
Yeah.
And then something in there with marinara sauce, and I'm going, what?
Well, you gotta understand that, like the I'm an old school soldier, so I call it the mess hall. But now they've upgraded
that's
that.
what I know it as too. That's what my dad
Right.
calls it.
But you know, the political correctness, so they had to change it to the dining facility. And the army is so hung up on acronyms.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what the AC stands for, but it's a DFAC. DFAC is the new mess hall. And imagine the United States government, George W. Bush and Cheney, throwing billions of dollars at this Iraqi freedom war. And what that meant was that there was, on my base, there were, here's how bad it is. People in the military came back from service in Iraq. Now, I'm not talking about 2003. I'm not talking about when we were just getting there. I'm talking about after we've been there for a while. And now we're starting to win, right? And the mess halls are obscene. There's so much food in these mess halls that these GIs would get back to the States and be like, at Fort Bragg, and like, what the hell is this? You know, the food, because over there they'd have just anything you could imagine to eat. You know, so I imagine they probably had a grilled cheese, and I don't know exactly how that happened, but I'm gonna have to go back and listen. You caught me, man. I got to go back and listen to it now. Now I got to check, and I'll have a report next show.
Okay.
Thanks for calling. I got some stuff I got to cover.
I know you got to get going.
All
okay.
All right. Love you. All right, Mark.
Take it easy.
All right. So Larry C. Johnson, I want you to listen to this word, and I got to read a little bit, but this is amazing to me. Larry C. Johnson says the military and State Department can't handle the Trump truth. And this is published by Jim Hoft at the Gateway Pundit. An excerpt from a soon-to-be-released book, A Very Stable Genius, which appeared in Saturday's edition of the Washington Post, apparently was written with the intent of presenting Donald Trump as a crazed, unstable individual. The authors of this hit job, two Washington Post reporters, clearly relied on Rex Tillerson, Gary Cohn, and Jim Mattis as primary sources. But rather than expose Trump as mentally unfit to be president, the authors unwittingly expose their own extreme bias and highlight how the men Trump named to key positions in his administration, Tillerson at State, Cohn at the White House, and Mattis at DOD, tried to undermine the president and dug their feet in carrying out Trump's directives. These men, in my view, are bureaucratic cowards. They should have resigned if they felt so strongly about Trump's violations, but they wanted to hang on to their little pieces of turf. The piece is introduced with this telling paragraph. So on July 20th, 2017, Mattis invited Trump to the tank for what he, Tillerson, and Cohn had carefully organized as a tailored tutorial. What happened inside the tank that day crystallized the commander-in-chief's berating, derisive, and dismissive manner, foreshadowing decisions such as the one earlier this month that brought the United States to the brink of war with Iran. The tank meeting was a turning point in Trump's presidency. Rather than getting him to appreciate America's traditional role and alliances, Trump began to tune out and eventually push away the experts, in quotes, who believed their duty was to protect the country by restraining his more dangerous impulses. Yep, Trump's a bad, crazy, deranged individual because he did not want to continue the failed policies of the last 20 years. That's the complaint of these deep staters in a nutshell. And Donald Trump, unlike the serpentine politicians that infest Washington, did not speak praise to the faces of these clowns and then backstab them in the press and other members of his administration. Nope. He called them out to their face. Can't have that. Telling people off to their faces is just so uncouth. Always better, according to the swamp creatures, to say one thing to a person's face than trash the hell out of them when they're not around. Let's look at the key issues discussed in this brief that put the reporters' panties in a knot. The post-war international rules-based order is the greatest gift of the greatest generation. Mattis then gave a 20-minute briefing on the power of the NATO alliance to stabilize Europe and keep the United States safe. Trump's response should not have surprised these guys if they'd paid attention to the campaign. He said we should make money off of everything. Trump proceeded to explain that NATO, too, was worthless. U.S. generals were letting the allied member countries get away with murder, he said, and they owed the United States a lot of money after not living up to their promise of paying their dues. They're in arrears, Trump said, reverting to the language of real estate. He lifted both of his arms at his sides in frustration. Then he scolded top officials for the untold millions of dollars he believed they had let slip through their fingers by allowing allies to avoid their obligations. Trump was exactly right with regards to NATO. It's an anachronism. The equivalent of maintaining the horse cavalry in the U.S. Army on the eve of World War II. But there's a lot of money and high-paying jobs for senior officers to be had. Cannot let that sugar tit dry up. You remember hearing me talk about that, ladies and gentlemen? A week or so ago, the fiefdoms they create. The men who sat around the table also tried to thwart Trump on Iran. He wanted out of the Iran nuclear deal that President Obama had struck in 2015, which called for Iran to reduce its uranium stockpile and cut its nuclear program. It's the worst deal in history, Trump declared. Well, actually, Tillerson injected, I don't want to hear it, Trump said, cutting off the Secretary of State before he could even explain some of the benefits of the agreement. They're cheating. They're building. We're getting out of it. I keep telling you, I keep giving you time, and you keep delaying me. I want out of it. Here again, Trump never hid his intent with respect to Obama's and Republican Senator Corker's Iran deal. So why the surprise on the part of Manus Tillerson? Go ahead, Ward.
My thing is, he ran on that. That was one of his campaign promises, that he was going to get out of that deal. And when it shouldn't have shocked anybody, because, I mean, hell, I knew that he was going to do that because he ran on it. So I don't understand how Tillerson and Madison and whoever else it was shocked that he said, no, we're getting out of it, because he said he was getting out of it from the beginning, the same as he said we're getting out of the Paris deal. And we did.
Next up,
same as
Afghanistan. Afghanistan. Yeah. Trump erupted to revive another frequent complaint. The war in Afghanistan, which was now America's longest war. He demanded an explanation for why the United States hadn't won in Afghanistan yet. Now, 16 years after the nation began fighting, there in the wake of 9/11 terrorist attacks, Trump unleashed his disdain, calling Afghanistan a loser war. That phrase hung in the air and disgusted not only the military leaders at the table, but also the men and women in uniform sitting along the back wall behind their principals. They all were sworn to obey their commander-in-chief's commands. And here he was calling the war they had been fighting a loser war. You're all losers, Trump said. You don't know how to win anymore. God damn it, Ward, I agree with him 1,000,000%.
Sure.
You may not like the tone, but Trump's position was not new, nor should it have been unexpected. To his credit, he called out the generals to their face. And he was factually correct. We defeated the Japanese and German armies in 4 years. Here, we are entering, this hurts, Ward, our 19th year of a meaningless war in Afghanistan. And all we have to show are losses of hundreds of millions of dollars and the deaths and maiming of thousands of U.S. military personnel. Damn straight, Mr. President, we've been pouring U.S. taxpayer dollars down an open sewer that masquerades as a country. For what purpose? Then we get the pity party. They stunned nearly everyone in the room, and some vowed that they would never repeat them. Indeed, they have not been reported until now. I wouldn't go to war with you people, Trump told the assembled brass. Addressing the room, the commander-in-chief barked, "You're a bunch of dopes and babies." For a president known for verbiage, he euphemistically called locker room talk This was the gravest insult he could have delivered to these people in this sacred space. The flag officers in the room were shocked. Some staff began looking down at their papers, rearranging folders, almost wishing themselves out of the room. A few considered walking out. They tried not to reveal their revulsion on their faces, but questions raced through their minds. How does the commander-in-chief say that? One thought, what would our worst adversaries think if they knew he said this? Grab the damn fainting couch, Trump told the assembled military leaders who had presided over a military stalemate in Afghanistan and the rise of ISIS as losers. Not a one of them had the balls to stand up, tell him to his face he was wrong, and offer their resignation. Nope. They preferred to endure such abuse in order to keep their jobs. Pathetic. This excerpt in the Washington Post tells the readers more about the corruption of the deep state and their mindset than it does about Trump's so-called mental state. Trump acted no differently in front of these senior officers and diplomats than he did on the campaign trail. He was honest, and that's something the liars in Washington just cannot stomach, Ward.
No, I agree. I think that that's a big part of the problem is, he's not politically correct. He's not going to go in there and tiptoe around. He's used to being the guy in charge. He's not a former senator who, knows, how to, slap the backs and, stab them with the other hand and whatnot. He comes out and says, this is what it is. I'm the guy in charge. That's why he would have never ran for vice president or whatnot. He has to be the guy in charge. If Donald Trump's not the guy in charge, he ain't there. That's the way he works.
No, I
and
agree.
So, and the fact that it kind of disheartens me to the fact that if Mattis believed that Trump was wrong, that Mattis wouldn't stand up and say you're wrong. Because I had a lot of respect for Mattis, and we talked about it when Trump initially named him, that Mattis was a good pick. And to see this kind of stuff just totally disheartens me.
It does. And I lost faith in Mattis a long time ago. I mean, I did. Excellent Marine Corps general, horrible politician, to say the least. Let me, I want to give you guys a CPAC update. We're going to CPAC on February 12th. I mean, we're going to try to go to CPAC on February 26th. Where we're at right now, I think that we need and we can adjust this as we go if we have to, but for the ultimate coverage of CPAC, we need $7,000. We got 4 people, and the cost of lodging and all that is so high that I figure that's the amount that we really need. Now, if we get down to the wire, we can do some things like we can reduce. That's for 4 days or 4 nights, 3 days of coverage. We could, knock a day or a night out and maybe reduce the cost. But right now, ladies and gentlemen, what you have done is we have raised $1,815. That's what we have in the bank right now for our CPAC run. So that means that we're still looking at $5,185 to do this in its entirety, to bring you, coverage for each day and, to have everybody housed nearby. And like I said, if we get down to the wire and we can't reach our goal, that's never happened before, but if we get there, then we can say, all right, well, maybe we'll only, Ward, cover it for 2 days or whatever, we can figure it out as we go. Right now, that's what we have. We have $1,815. We're looking for $7,000, which gives us we need $5,185 more, and we got some time. So it's I think we'll be all right. We'll figure it out one way or the other. So I
had no idea what to say. I was just had a whole bunch of dead air there for a second. I was like,
This is the part. Okay. This is the part of the show I hate the most, man. This is where I have to beg, and I'm doing that. Go to steelcityresistance.com. There's a donate button up there. There's a lot of things you can do. Contact me if you don't want to do it that way, and don't try to. I'll say this: don't try to. If you go to steelcityresistance.com, up at the donate button, there's like a counter that shows where we are. But don't try to follow it dollar for dollar because, man, PayPal gets their little bit. Everybody gets their little bit of the money before we get it. So it's not always, right the way it looks. But anyway, that's the way that goes. I want to show you something, Ward, that blows my mind. I mean, do you like chicken? I like chicken. I mean, chicken's okay.
Chicken's okay.
You like Chick-fil-A? I'm not a real big Chick-fil-A guy, but, they got chicken.
Yeah, I kind of like Chick-fil-A.
Listen to this. Listen to this.
New at 10, San Antonio's Chick-fil-A fight is costing more than $300,000 so far. KENS 5 just received new numbers. To date, the city has paid at least $315,000 and other invoices are pending. The city faces 2 lawsuits and a federal investigation. It's all because of the city council's decision to ban Chick-fil-A from opening a location inside San Antonio International Airport. Councilman Roberto Trevino cited the chicken chain's alleged opposition to the LGBTQ community. Since the city banned Chick-fil-A in March, the restaurant has decided to stop giving to anti-LGBTQ organizations.
Seriously, man? A city spends $300,000 to keep an American business that everybody loves out of an airport? These are the people from California that are moving to Texas, San Antonio.
Well, here's my thing. What happens when Chick-fil-A turns around and sues for, illegal practices for keeping them out of the airport? And not only are they down the $300K that they spent to keep them out, then they have to pay them the money, for the lawsuit, and then still let them in. So they're going to lose the $300K. They're going to lose, because if Chick-fil-A is smart, they sue them for millions, win the millions, then turn around and then still put your place in the airport. So I mean, for nuts. Chick-fil-A, it's a win-win-win.
Yeah, it's a little nuts.
It's 106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes in the dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
It's the Chicago Report with Ward Miller. Yay!
And in honor of the Virginia gun rally, we're going to go to a place that you're not allowed to carry a gun. And so far, from January to date, 18 people have been shot and killed in the city of Chicago. 82 have been shot and wounded, with a total shot of 125 total homicides. We do have the 2019 totals have finally come in, and it's 461 shot and
Jesus
killed.
Christ.
2,293 shot and wounded, with a total of 2,754 and a total homicides of 516. That's where you're not allowed to carry a gun.
What stands out to you about that report? I'll tell you what stands out to me. But
the fact that there's been more than a person killed a day, every day for
See,
a year.
What comes out to me is I am so thankful that these people can't shoot. I mean, how do you wound 2,000 people? And how many were killed? I mean, I'm not downgrading the fact that so many people were killed.
516.
But
and that's down 13% from last year.
That's like different than if white supremacists were shooting. I'm just saying.
The guys that know how to shoot would. The number.
If I shoot 2,000 people, 1,900 of them are dying. I'm just saying. I'm not saying I would shoot anybody, but I'm just saying that's ridiculous.
Their skills have.
That's some horrible. That's some horrible statistics. Really, when
lack of talent.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, what a great show, man. I mean, think of all the things that happened this week, man. I mean, it's amazing that we had this Second Amendment rally, and what an embarrassment, in my opinion, for the Democrats. I mean, like half of Virginia showed up.
Well, yeah, and on top of that, you got Newsom, or not Newsom, what's his name?
Northam.
Northam.
Blackface.
Yeah, idiot governor. Yeah, another Klansman. But the thing is, he had everybody ginned up into the fact that there was going to be this massive, problem, and they're going to have to, not allow guns on the Capitol, and it was going to be a state of emergency, and it was a complete nothing burger.
Yeah.
Nothing happened. There was one arrest, and I don't even think it was gun related. I think it was, probably somebody got stupid.
Yeah. I mean, there was people that were out there that were egging the cops on and stuff, and I mean, this is kind of the reason I never get involved in these rallies. But you know what? They did really good. They really did. Yeah. And I was nervous a little bit because I looked at some of these guys and I'm like, oh my God, dude, you got everything, man. You got like the chest magazine holders, you know what I mean? I mean, it was like there were some warriors out there today, baby.
Well, there's a bunch of guys I follow. I mean, they have their own clothing store, but they're ex-Rangers, and you'll see me post a lot of stuff from them, and they call themselves Ranger Up, and they actually were one of the things that they started selling was T-shirts that say that we stand with Virginia, and the military community is behind them.
Absolutely,
1,000%.
Yeah.
Because we all took an oath to defend the Constitution, and no matter what these morons do or say, any infringement on the Constitution is a slap in the face of every veteran, and every veteran will stand up and address that properly.
Damn Skippy, man. Damn Skippy. No, you're so right, man. I mean, it's what this Northam does. Let me tell you something about Governor Blackface. One of the things that I've noticed throughout my long slog through life is that because I used to box, right? I mean, I never boxed professionally or nothing like that, but I was really good at it. You know what I mean? And when you look at a dude like Northam, he doesn't have a chin.
He has a definite punchable face.
One punch, and I knocked that motherfucker out until next year. You know what I mean? I'm just serious. When I see a guy with a head set up like that, he doesn't have any chin. And that's an easy ping. That's an easy knockout. But that's just my opinion. I'm going to leave us, ladies and gentlemen, and Ward, first I'm going to say, great show. How can people get in touch with you?
You can always hit me up on Twitter at Wardy22. Go to the Facebook page, man. We need all the visits and likes and stuff because that just jacks our numbers up. And maybe it would be a thing. I don't think it would ever happen, but if we could get enough people to like us and do
it will.
Stuff,
it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Maybe.
Ward.
Well, no, I'm just kind of curious as to whether or not Facebook will actually pay us.
I'm not worried about Facebook paying us, but I am worried about the audience paying us. And I got to say that listening to our shows, we really do have a good show, Ward. I mean, it's there's nothing like this anywhere else. And we want to go to CPAC. And if you want your people, and that's me and Ward and Mona and Stacy, to be at CPAC, we need your help. We still need over $5,000 to get us all there. And like I said, if it gets down to it and we don't have enough, we can, adjust a little bit. But the full money is, let me look over here, like $5,185. If we can produce that, then we're going there 4 nights, and Ward and his wife, me, and Mona and Stacy are going to get there. Stacy's airline fee is very small. It's like $200. We're going to be there. And Ward's going to man the camera, and I got to figure out a couple things about our mixer to make sure that we can get some calls in there. And it's going to be great. But in the meantime, I'm going to leave you with a friend of mine, an acquaintance of mine, Joe Grishecki. And this ought to light you up, Ward, a little bit, because the song is Homestead, right close to you.
Yeah, it's right around the block.
This is Pittsburgh, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for coming on, Ward. We'll catch you next week, sir.
Absolutely.
I was born in the coal fields of Kentucky. I moved north in '73. The war was still going strong, so I found a job rolling steel in a foundry in Homestead. I worked beside a guy named Chris Baskin, who taught me how to keep safe. They said there's many a man who lost the fingers from their hands. You can wind up people dead in the homestead. Still floating in white hot chambers. The furnace spit fire and smoke, and the sunlight came through the cracks in the roof, but the dust was so thick you could choke. I heard all your stories about the 12-hour shifts in the mill, and all the Union brothers, the Pinkertons, tried hard to kill. Learned about freaking Carnegie the day the river ran red. How the Union caved in Homestead. It was more than a job, it was my family. I got married, settled down by the home, and in the barns down the street in the late summer heat. I never had to feel till there's nothing left but the sweat and blood in the ground. At night we tuck our little babies in bed. We still pray to the red, white, and blue and